Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 16th of June. I want to talk about a return to the old cosmology because the cosmology of this age is actually the root of all evil. And I want to show you this here. Now, before the dark age that we are in now was a time of enlightenment, and that was the time of the mystery schools, until the beast came and destroyed them. The cosmology in the mystery schools was that of the all, and that everything that exists is a part of it. There is nothing separated from the all. It is within all, and it is all. So what the schools did is they looked at different aspects of the all. And here we could say that that was a multidimensional society, a multidimensional world at that time. If you use the correct meaning of the word dimension. Again, everybody is running around now multidimensional. They are using the definition of measurement in space. Their height, width, length, or whatever else you want to throw in there, apparently. But the other definition of the word dimension is aspects of something. Yeah, they're different aspects of something, in their different dimensions of something. And as the mystery schools were looking at this different aspects, they were multidimensional, and they were not separated from each other because they understood that they were all part of the same thing. They were obviously not the same. There were mystery schools in Egypt, in Persia, in India, and then when you come up north, you had the Druids, which would be people that were culturally, let's say, very different from one another. But their cultures were, to a great extent, created out of their environment. The way you do things, the way you dress, the food that you eat was obviously determined by where you lived. Whether you were in a cold environment or a hot environment, or, what kind of food would grow there. And a lot of the customs came out of that, and in that they were different, obviously. But that did not divide them. I think they understood that very clearly. Yeah, that what they were doing in everyday life was in service to life, and that what serves life in the Arctic is not the same than what serves life in the jungle or in the desert. So there must be different ways. I think they understood that. But in their higher understanding, let's say it like that, they were not divided. They were one. They were all in the same cosmology of the all. And knowing themselves to be only aspects of it, not the whole truth. None of them was the whole truth. They knew that too. They could share their knowledge. Yeah, to give to one another. So that was at the time of enlightenment, the time when humanity was one in that way. Different, yes, but one on a higher level. So what went wrong? Now, as I said, in the old cosmologies, they all had several gods. Every one of them. And quite often they were the same gods, just given different names in different regions. I think they understood that too. Now again, the gods are aspects of the whole. And if you worship a god, you are religious. And that is actually on a very, very low level of understanding what it is you're actually looking at. The higher understanding, again, that was in the schools, is you do not worship a god. You do not worship the form. But you see what is inside the form. You see what it represents, which aspect of nature of the cosmos, what knowledge that form represents. And again, knowing that every form is only one part, one aspect of the whole. I think Hinduism now is still the closest to the truth. I mean, Hindus that worship in the temple are on a low level of understanding on the religious level, but there were those, and there probably still are those in India that they call mystics that understand that on a higher level. They can see what that form actually represents, what knowledge it represents. So where did the whole thing go wrong? And thinking about it, I think it started with Judaism. Where their pantheon of gods went to war with each other. The war in heaven. Yeah, there can only be one truth. And here comes the belief on the one absolute truth, which in the old thinking would not have been there. There was no one absolute truth. Everything was part of, there was an absolute truth here, but everything that you could know was part of the same truth. There was no truth in existence. That was the only one. But that's what happened in Judaism, the war in heaven. The gods basically going to war with each other. It's what Jesus talked about, a house divided. A house divided cannot stand. Or if you see that as in the picture of a body, it would be the organs of the body going to war with each other, which is idiotic. Complete idiocy. But that is what happened. And then you have the one that can be the only truth, which means everything else is false, which means everything else has to be destroyed. I mean, even with the mystery schools, that is what, I mean, Christianity was actually the one that went absolutely on the rampage. Again, I know there were accounts that Christians in the beginning tried to talk or discuss inside of the mystery schools. Yeah. Now, again, if you see the old idea of a discussion, the old Greek idea, even before that, the aim of a discussion was actually to create a synthesis. The aim was to come together. Always was. So if you had the dialectic, you had the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. And if you went into a discussion, the aim was actually to come together, to create a synthesis. And with the idea that the synthesis would be greater than the two parts that it would be made out of. Yeah, so there you have the coming together of the polarities, the coming together of the aeons in order to create something out of the union. And that was not just a, high-flung summer idea. in another dimension or in the astral zone, that is something they practiced. Yeah, that idea was not detached from our material reality. They practiced that. So, but when the Christians came in, they did not come in with the idea of creating a synthesis. They insisted they had the one absolute truth. And any discussion now is actually conducted along those lines. But thesis and antithesis are actually at war with each other. They both believe themselves to be the only truth. And the aim of a discussion is now to destroy the other, to destroy the argument of the other and to come out as, victorious. But that again is based on that new model of the new cosmology. There can be only one truth. Everything's at war now. Even in discussions, it is a war. So that is how the Christians went into the mystery schools, not willing to create synthesis, but to be victorious, saying we are the ones with the only truth. And everything else must be destroyed, which is what they did then. Yeah, when they could not win their argument in the schools, they resorted to violence. And they spread their enlightenment by the sword. And then obviously Islam came out of that thinking, out of this new cosmology, and they joined in the fun. Yeah. So now we have the divided heavens of, again, we still have several gods, apparently, every one of them declaring themselves to be the only truth. And you cannot have a discussion with two polarities that will not move. And they will not move. Yeah? They remain static and unchanging. And then the only thing left is the war of the extremes, and that is what we're in at the moment. But that is the natural outcome. That is what this cosmology creates in this world. That is what that thought creates in the world. It creates war. It creates division. It makes it impossible for people to come together, which was not the old way. But as I said, even in the old way, if you look at Hinduism now, yeah, I mean, they have different temples to different deities. Those that on a higher level will understand that those are not actually beings, but that they represent an aspect of the all. So in a way, Hindus are still multidimensional, whereas Christians and, the ones that believe on the one were actually flat earthers. That's actually I would say that is the truth meaning of being a flat earther. There's only one dimension, only one aspect, only one truth. So, and Hindus don't have a go at each other because of what temple they go to. Because even on a religious level, they understand that it's all part of the same thing. Yeah? That they're only looking at one aspect, but that one aspect is the same, part of the same thing, and every aspect is. And that is something that those that are in the Abrahamic religion cannot do, because of the belief in the one absolute truth. And there can be no other. There can be only one. So that is where we're at now. And we need to return to the old cosmology. And I'm kind of wondering, let me say before, the idea of the one is obviously what the Gnostics described as Yaldabaoth. Yeah, I am the only one, there can be no other. I'm the only creator God. And then the archons that believe the one and then serve the one. Again, people on a religious level in this world right now, and people really like David Icke, yeah, that see they are on a religious level, that say Yaldabaoth is one actual being that exists in the astrozone, and the archons are existing in the astrozone, yeah, which is religious understanding. If you go to a higher understanding, you see what Yaldabaoth actually represents, what is inside of that form, what knowledge, what thought, what desire, what intention is in that form. And I mean, the Gnostics saw that. They saw the thought of, I am the only one. Yeah? And they called that thought ignorant, deluded. Yeah? Really, if you are in just one aspect, you're a flat earther, you are blind to everything else. Multidimensional means you see different aspects, and the more aspects you see, the more you see the whole. So they called that, the Gnostics called that ignorant, deluded, not understanding what it is you're in. But if you see now in this world, if you say you have one God that says, I am the only one, every one of those gods is a Yaldabaoth. It is that kind of consciousness. And everybody that worships one of those gods is an archon. See, it does not talk about one form. It's a principle that repeats itself, can take on different forms. It's spirit that can create forms. And it has created the forms of Christianity, of Judaism, and of Islam. And anybody that worships in one of those religions is an archon. That is where this truth is on earth. So this is the Archonic age. We are in the Archonic age, and it is an age of darkness and of destruction and of separation. And we must return to the old cosmology, to the better understanding of what it is we are and what it is we're in, and that no part is the only absolute truth. Nothing that is in existence is the only absolute truth. So what happened all the way back when, and that's the last point, was that actually a natural development? You know, this Christianity, did it develop naturally out of an argument? You know, out of a thought, of a trail of thought? Or was that something that was led, that was created, that was influenced from outside somewhere, that brought this new knowledge and said, this is the only truth? In which case, again, the Tower of Babel, a story that is not history. The Tower of Babel, there may have been a Tower of Babel in one place at one time, built by a guy called Nimrod. That may have happened. But as well as being one incident, it is also a principle. I think it has become a principle. That when people come together speaking the same language, or people come together because they are in the same cosmology. They can talk to each other because they are in the same cosmology. They can come together, they can share knowledge, they can build something great. And what happened? The gods, more than one definitely, let us go down. The gods destroy that. There's something out there that every time we come together, they destroy it. They destroyed the mystery schools using Christianity as their tool, the Christians as their servants of destruction. So, yeah, I mean, that is a thought. Is that something that did actually just naturally develop out of our own trails of thought, and we suddenly went the wrong way and became deluded and started killing each other? Or was there something that influenced that from outside of this world? Either way, if we cannot be influenced, if we cannot be made tools to those gods, then the gods have no power in this world. So, yeah, but I think most importantly, we need to return to the old cosmology, where everything is just a part of cultural differences that were created out of the necessities of life in different environments. I mean, those differences are neither here nor there. What is good in the Arctic is good in the Arctic. What is good in the jungle is good in the jungle, is good in the desert. You know, what's good in the desert is good in the desert. Then let that be. It's a need for survival. That's fine. Yeah, we don't have to go at war to each other about the way we dress or what we eat, what music we listen to. All these things can exist side by side. I can't see a problem with that. But the higher belief that influences how a person interacts with another person. I say it is. We are in the iconic age. This is the rule of the beast. We're in it. Everybody's waiting for it. We're in it. We've been in it for 2,000 years, at least. That age has to come to an end. We must return to the truth. We do not have to find a new truth. We had it. Enlightenment was there. We need to return to that point and go again from there, and then greater things will we do. And if there is something that wants to destroy that, and we just have to be standing strong and not become their servants. Anyway, yeah, I think I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.